Hello and welcome to the Xeno Podcast, where we talk about how we shape stories and how they shape us. Today we've got Dillon Petrovich. Did I say that right?
Petrovich.
Nice.
Dillon Petrovich goes by Petro. He's an ICS major. And what does that stand for?
Intercultural Studies.
Intercultural Studies. And you've brought some research that you've been doing over the course of the semester about ethnography.
Yep.
So what is ethnography, just to get started?
Basic terms, ethnography is just the study of a group of people. In-depth study.
Okay.
How did you get interested in that?
I love learning to begin with, but I love learning about people specifically. That's why I chose this major. Culture is so fascinating, and it's really, you can't understand a culture if you don't dive deep into it, and that's why ethnography has been so fun, because it really challenges us to dive deep into culture by assimilating into that culture.
And the ethnography, or the ethnographic, I guess, project that you took on had to do with certain video games.
Yeah, online gamers are the community that I am studying, and specifically their area of, who they are. Their community is online games.
Okay. So, were you interested in video games before this?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, I've always been a casual gamer, definitely in the language of gamers. I'm not the most intense gamer in the world, but I do dabble a little more than just like normal, gamers would. But this has required me to play more and kind of just analyze more when I play. But yeah, I would consider myself kind of a seasoned veteran.
And so which video games did you study?
So I play a lot of them, but the specific ones that I'm studying right now are Tom Clancy's The Division, and then the popular Fortnite and PUBG.
Okay, so I know nothing about video games. So brief synopsis of maybe the Tom Clancy's one.
Okay, so brief synopsis is basically it's a first-person shooter.
Okay.
And then it's based on a looting game. It's a looting game where you do things to get better equipment, better armor, better weapons, so that you become better, stronger, defend yourself more, be able to have stronger firepower. It's just a basic looting game. I mean, it's a very basic aspect.
So can you ever win the game, I guess?
Well, with online gaming, winning is an interesting term. That's one thing that winning is very subjective in the sense of you can win at certain moments, but online gaming, where it makes its money, where it's successful, is the ongoing. There is no end. So really, no, you don't ever win, but you get to a point where you are better than most or are the best, if there is such a point.
So just to clarify, you can win rounds, but you can't
Yeah,
there's
it's
not
like
a point
it's
B that
a
you're
never-ending war that you can win battles, but the war will never end.
Sounds exhausting.
You can just get really good at it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's and Fortnite's kind of the same idea, or is
So Fortnite's a little bit different. Fortnite and PUBG, they're more of battle royale games where 100 players drop in on a map and it's the last one standing wins. So that game is a little more you win, but it gets more complicated. Now it's how did you win? How many kills did you get? How many wins do you have? That determines how good you are. So there's a little more aspect to you just won. Well, you could hide in a bush till there's one guy left and then kill him. Technically you win, but were you good at it?
Yeah.
I mean, some will say yes, some will say no.
you didn't really earn the victory.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to study. It was what do people think? Do they think that they won? Do they think they earned that win, or what?
Yeah, so before we keep going into this, what was your question that you had when you started this research?
So my question, because I had experience with online gaming beforehand, my question was really, why is online gaming so toxic? Why does the community produce such a toxicity of meritocracy? This base, your worth is based on how good you are. Why is it that way, and why has it developed such a toxic community?
Okay, and so I guess overall, what did you find?
So I found that the reasoning for it, there's a couple reasons, but the main thing is anonymity. It allowed people to do what they wanted to do with no remorse and no, I guess, opposition or moral no guilt, in the sense of they treat others away poorly because there's really no consequence, and it gives them a sense of power and that label of, well, I'm good, I can treat you however I want, because you can't do anything about it and you don't know who I am. So I mean, what's the point of me being nice to you? I don't know you, you don't know me, and I'm better than you.
All right.
Yeah.
How did that work in specific video games?
Differently. I was surprised. There's a different aspect in every game. It's like online gaming culture is, I thought of it as the beginning as one community, but then you got within different games, it's different community. And even as I was conducting interviews, talking to players of certain games, I asked them, well, what do you think about players from this game, or what do you think about this style in this other game? And most gamers are familiar with other games, even if they don't play them, but they always had opinions on them, and they were always quite contradictory towards one another.
What video games had the worst rep?
Yeah.
Or the best rep?
Most prejudices against them.
That's a tough question. I'd have to say, so PUBG probably. PUBG probably had the worst rep because of some certain factors, like you could turn your game chat on to everybody, so even if they weren't on your team, you walk up behind a guy and you know that he's just completely oblivious that you're there. You can turn on your chat and mess with him. Fortnite, you can't do that. You can only talk to your team. So they've kind of restricted that a little bit. But still, there's different ways that in Fortnite, you get taunting and whatnot without even using your voice.
So you're not on headsets, right? Or
we
is
are.
You are. Okay.
Certain games. So it's but most of the time we are. Yeah.
So even smack talk, just in the earpiece, to the other player, you just how do they interact?
Yeah, so some games restrict that. So in Fortnite, I can't talk to other players. I can only talk to my teammates.
Oh, okay.
But even then, it's I'll jump in with random guys that I don't know, that the game just puts me in. And there's conflict there already.
Really?
The way that my teammates talk to me. Sometimes I play I don't know what I'm doing, and it frustrates them.
Okay.
Sometimes I play I'm the one in charge because I know what I'm doing.
You mean when you're doing this research?
Yeah. Every time I play, it's just research. It's just ongoing,
That's really cool, though.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's given me more of a reason to play, or I guess more of a purpose when I play.
Yeah.
But the interaction, for the most part, it's people have some inclination to do good, to be nice, but for the most part, it's been pretty toxic and offensive, the way players speak to each other and the way I've been spoken to. And even, to be completely frank and honest, thinking about it, I was talking about this to my wife, who's very opinionated about this research. But she said that, and I've noticed that when I play these video games and I get into it, I'm more prone to, use foul language or have the desire to use foul language. And I can notice that in myself, stepping back going, wow, there's an obvious effect here that, these games are affecting me for the negative.
What did you find causes that, or what
causes that? Well, I think part of it was going back to the anonymity of it. But then also it's just I don't want to say the violent nature of the game. That definitely is plays a role in it. I mean, we're playing games here where winning, being successful, is killing other players. And I mean, you can do that and be completely ethical and nice and just doing it to have fun. But I definitely think it plays a mental role in it.
Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier before the podcast, but I play a game called StarCraft, and everybody on that community is very polite, and everybody's very nice. Every time you start a game, you say good luck, have fun to the other player, and then if you're about to quit, you know that you've been beaten, you'll say like, oh, good game, like to the other person. And like you get like a really bad rep if you talk smack. Like everybody is like trying to keep it nice. Like if you're ever the person that's winning and you say good game to the other person before they've quit, that's like a really like bad move. Like you don't want to do that because it will like disgrace them or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just so interesting how like different games have different levels of respect.
There's no honor among the games that I've been studying. I've noticed it's pretty ruthless.
So when you're like a new player, you're playing a new player, there's no mercy whatsoever to like help you out or try to...
You know, like if they're on your team, you always start out like, okay, I found that some players are more accepting, like, let's have fun, like, let's get this win together. Mm-hmm. I know you're new, but like, we'll do it. We'll do it together. Mm-hmm. Some are like, just follow me, do what I do. They're a little more forceful, like, don't mess up. If you die, you die. I don't care, you suck. But it tends more to be that way. It's just like, okay, crap, you're new. Just try and, help out. And, but if you come along, and what I found, which has been really interesting, finding a new player in the game, some players will just kill them real quick. Like, they don't care. Like, they're really there to, like, be the best, not mess around. But the most of the time, it's like, let's play with this kid till, we have to kill him. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's psychologically very peculiar that, okay, there's a new player, let's mess with them.
Yeah.
Make him seem like there's hope. Take it away at the last second.
What are some examples of that happening?
So it's like, trolling is a common, there's different ways to troll players.
So just to explain, what's trolling?
Yeah, what is
trolling? Trolling is a way to, like, go out of your way to mess with them. Like, you go against what the game's purpose is to, kill everyone, be the best efficiently and, effectively. And part of that is being swift at it, doing it quickly. If you can beat the game quick, you're obviously good at it. But taking your time to, in essence, making yourself vulnerable to losing just to get a laugh out of playing with an inexperienced player. Whether that be just like in Fortnite, there's a building aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So in Fortnite, it's like trapping a player in a building with yourself and then hitting them with like a pickaxe, which
Yikes.
like
sounds so
takes,
violent.
It takes
terrible.
like a long time to. Well, it's like a cartoon game, so it's not like that blood and gore, but it's vulnerable because he could just shoot you and kill you, but like. You get 4 guys around a new player, all hitting them with your like farming material. It's it's peculiar, to say the least.
But like, you could
funny.
Die trying to do that.
Yeah. And there's
a risk.
Yeah, there's been experiences where you do. Your game per se, like you messing with them, you trying to troll them, has backfired, and you lose the game. There is that risk always, but most of the time, which I've seen, is the risk outweighs the reward.
Have you ever been on a team where they said, okay, we're going to go troll people, and then you like had to go do it because you're like following suit?
Oh, yeah.
So like, what do you do?
I just play along. It's like, those are the most important though. Those are the ones where I got to ask why, but I can't be, like right off the bat because they'll get spooked if I do, but I'm always down. I always have to say, of course, like let's go. Yeah. That's awesome. But then I always ask them why they want to do that. What drives them to do that sort of thing.
What'd you find? Why do they want to kill the noobs?
It's a lot of it was just like because they could. I thought it was gonna be like, well, to get a laugh because it's fun, it's exciting, but more of it was just like the power that they could do it. And I thought that was a surprising answer. It's not one I was expecting, but the majority of it's because they could.
Mm-hmm. So going back to like the violence and all the violence you saw in like Fortnite or like Tom Clancy's, so a lot of people have a lot of opinions about the violence and who should be playing these games, like younger adults, spending hours and hours. Like, what did you find, or what are your opinions? It's a touchy topic.
Yeah, no, it's touchy because it's like, I mean, when I was a kid, I started playing Call of Duty and Halo, and I feel like that's where the debate started. Was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, video games were getting really popular, especially these online shooters. My opinion is It's very situational. I personally can sit down and play for a couple hours and, leave the game and still function as a normal human being, obeying the society's norms and rules.
Yeah.
But it does affect certain people. I think there is an age, but it really depends on the parenting style. But to say that it doesn't affect people is a fallacy. It does affect people. So it just really depends. But people need to understand that it does affect you in some way or another. It's like even me saying that I can walk away. Well, it's like when I do walk away, it's like I mean, my language, like I haven't always been a member of the church, so it's like language has been a huge battle for me, because I was used to, saying every word under the sun with no remorse. Video games kind of brings me back to that. Yeah.
Just because everybody else is.
Yeah, definitely. And then also it's like it evokes that emotion. It's like, of course, during this study, I've really had to watch myself as I play, but part of it has been participant observation. I really have to get into it because, ethnography only works if you're actually doing it, actually trying to put your shoes in the shoes of those that you're studying. So I've had to really try to win the game, really try to do whatever we're doing. And it does get heated. It's like you do want to win. It's human nature. You want to be good at something. You don't want to be the worst at it. So I have gotten intense and heated, and it's been fun.
So of the 3 games that you studied, which one do you think yielded the most interesting results, or like the one that you reacted to the most?
I would say Tom Clancy's Division was like the most interesting, the most data. I got the most data from that game, and then PUBG was close behind, and Fortnite not as much. But Tom Clancy's is more because the game revolves a lot. It's very heavy on player-to-player interaction. So that's where I got the most study, because it's the most of players talking to each other, working together, interacting with each other. It was very complex and effective for gathering data and interviews.
Okay, how does the game work, and could you explain like the dark zone and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the game, it's got the story mode. You do that by yourself or with friends or with random people. But the main aspect where they built the game around, where they were looking for their success, was an area called the dark zone. The game is set in New York during the winter time, and the dark zone's just a blocked off area. The premise of the game is the Division is a secret organization that the government trained, like CIA agents that are sleeper agents in the U.S. and are called into action when something catastrophic. There it is. I was thinking catastrophe, but yeah, catastrophic happens, and they get called to help out. And in the game, it was premised on a chemical weapon had been used on New York, and New York was in a state of decay and what's the word? Just like civil war, riots on the streets, looting. I mean, enemies arose and this and that. And the dark zone is a zone where online players can go in and get the best loot, get the best armor, get the best weapons. And it's interesting because when you step in, everything is contaminated. So when you pick up loot, you have to extract it, which is you go to a certain area marked on the map and you call a helicopter, drops a rope for a couple minutes, you put your loot on, and then it takes it away, and then it drops in your cache and is decontaminated. Well, this gives opportunity for other players to steal it, or to help you out, or to just kill you and do whatever they please. And the coolest factor about the dark zone is when you die in the dark zone, you drop everything you had, and it's free for the taking. So there's a vulnerability in it, there's risks, but there's high reward, and that's why it's fun. That's why it's appealing to people.
What kinds of like cultures or like dynamics did that kind of create, like those possibilities?
So the cultures, they didn't originally plan this, I don't think, but it's games are updated. Online games can be updated regularly, and it has since developed, but it's developed this culture which is called the rogue culture. basically rogues, you're all agents of the division. Rogues have the opportunity players have the opportunity to go rogue and basically attack other agents and kill them and steal their stuff, or just kill them for fun.
So if you don't go rogue, what are you killing?
Computer NPCs, computer generated players. There it is. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, it's not supposed to be a PvP zone, but then if you can make it, kind of.
Yeah.
When he says PvP, I just learned this. It's player versus player, right? Okay.
Yeah. And the opposite of that
idea.
is what, CVP or
I don't know.
MVP? I can't remember. I probably should know this since I'm a gamer, but
I just learned this yesterday, so.
So yeah, it wasn't intended. I think they definitely put it in there because they knew that it could be, but I think the primary purpose was just another zone that had more risk but higher reward.
Okay.
But it is now, they're on their like 8th update, and it is now developed more of the PvP. You either go in hunting rogues or you go in to go rogue and to survive and claim the reward from that. Honestly, the computers now in the game are just like extra walls that you have to shoot through to get to your goal of killing another player or killing a rogue.
Wow. So what was your methodology like, or your plan going into it? Did you have a plan, or did you just figure I'll just play and...
I developed a plan as I did it.
Okay.
Because I've been playing games for a while, and this is a topic that I've thought about before I really started to study it out. But the plan developed, and it really developed into I'm just going to hop on, play, and interview guys as I play. A lot of the interviews I've done have just been very informal. Hey, man, I'm going to ask you some questions as we play. And 90% of the time, they're always willing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because they feel comfortable. They're doing something that they like, that they're good at. And I'm a pretty nice guy to talk to, so they like
very
it.
Very relaxed.
Yeah. A lot of them also have been like friends that I have that play. And those have been really good too, because they can give me more information. They've been talking to me a little more candidly because they know me. And then some of them are friends that I've made, as in, like, I've never even met, but I've played with before. It's like, it's very common in gaming culture. You play with a guy that's good or you like, then you'll add him on Xbox or PC or PlayStation. You'll add them as a friend and then play with them whenever they're online. It's someone familiar, you've already played with before. You know how they play, you like it. And then I've been able to, develop friendships and interview people that way. So that's been fun too.
What have been some trends or patterns that you've seen in your interviews?
Trends or patterns in my interviews? Do you have an example?
Just I guess going back to the question that you were saying, talking about the toxicity and like the meritocracy in video games, like what did people say to justify or to like the meritocracy or to go against the meritocracy?
A lot of them, a common theme is like they were all very passionate about it. I didn't run into a lot of guys that were just like, I don't really care, or were just there casually. A lot of them were very into it and were very passionate about whichever side they took. A lot of them justified it by it's just a game, or that's what the game was meant for. Like, the game was designed so that we could do what we want, and what we want is to, go rogue and kill other players or mess with noobs. It's there is no rule against it, and what is it that if there's no rule against it, it's permissible. It's not required, but it's allowed. So that was the biggest justification, was because they can and because that's what it was for.
Interesting. Yeah. What makes people want to go rogue or like to kill rogues? Like, do you know?
Higher rewards, yeah. One of it, like the base answer is like the game rewards you for going rogue and surviving as a rogue, and then the game rewards you for killing rogues. So the base answer would be like, yeah, you get a reward for it. But the deeper answer is, the more cultural answer that I've found is, it proves that you're better than somebody. Back to that meritocracy. You go rogue or you kill rogues to prove that you're the best and you can do it. You can be the best, kill the best, and prove that you're worth it.
Okay. when you go rogue, do you like get certain powers that other people don't?
No, you get marked. You actually, it makes it harder for you to survive. The computers will target you first, and you'll be marked on the map at all times while you're rogue, so players can easily find you.
Have you gone rogue?
Yeah, no, I had
God.
to with these studies. For the record, I never chosen to go. Actually, this is an interesting experience. Okay, you guys will like this. I think I shared this with you earlier, but I had got on to study. It's ironic, I'm getting on to play video games, but to study.
It's for research.
Yeah, that's what I tell my wife. And the team leader, who the game decides, asked, "What do you want to do?" He was asking me. So he told me, "Yeah, these are my two friends. You're our fourth. You're just a random. What do you want to do? Do you want to farm, which means just like go out and kill computers and get better armor and stuff, and just like play the game, or do you want to go rogue?" And he was asking me, "Who are you? Are you the type of person that just wants to play the game for fun, or do you want to screw with other players and, be a bad person?" I don't know what I'm allowed to say here.
Yeah.
That's what he was asking me in essence, and I had a real hard choice here. I had to. What's common is I speculated. If I would have said, "Oh, I want to go rogue," like that means I want to kind of be a dirtbag, and he would have probably kicked me from the team and killed me right then and there. It was a test, in essence, and I passed the test. I told him that I just wanted to farm, and he was like, "Cool." And then we went rogue later, which was ironic.
You're like,
it happened. Opportunity arose, and we went rogue. Yeah.
Did he say, like, I would have killed you if you would have said rogue or something, or no?
I asked him later, yeah. He was like, yeah, the last guy jumped right out and said, "I want to go rogue," and we killed him. But this was like an hour after we would have played. Yeah.
That's funny.
Because I didn't want to ask him right away, but I eventually did ask him, because I made a note of that right when he asked me, because I was like, not a lot of people ask you what you want to do, especially when, like, I'm the outsider, I'm the fourth being added on here, and they asked me what I wanted to do. It was strange. So
it's like, can we trust you in our team?
Really, that's what it was, though. It was like, who are you as a person? Which was interesting, because, like, they were testing my moral quality right there. And, like, they didn't even know who I was, and I would only play with them for an hour and then never talk to them or see them ever again, so...
Well, you say, like, moral quality, so the people that you interviewed afterwards that went rogue, like, did they have some, like, moral, I don't know, deficiency or something?
No.
Like, did you notice, like, trends, like, with that?
I would say the guys that go out there... So we went rogue later in that game because it was partly an accident, partly because, it was just... We were kind of getting bored. But the ones that specifically go on to go rogue and, like, to do what they do, it's like everyone knows what a rogue does. It's the purpose to go rogue. I've noticed that most of the players that do it are always the ones that are more like commanding and more like power hungry and the stronger personalities, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I was also interested when Jackson was telling me about this podcast that we were going to shoot. I was interested in the time of day. Like, was there a difference between the people that went on at midnight than like 2 p.m.? Or is it?
Yeah, this one's been hard because, we're in Hawaii, so
the hours are
weird.
weird.
So sometimes I'll play on the Asian server. Sometimes on the European server, but most of the time I'm on the North American server. It's like kids play a lot on the weekends. I'll get, like, you can tell how old somebody is. Not the exact age, but the range of, dude, you're in elementary school or junior high school. By your voice. And thankfully they're playing at normal hours of the day. I always ask people where they're from. That's a normal question that people, they never feel uncomfortable. And that's like right away, like, hey, where are you from? I just want to know where you're from. And I found that, the kids are playing at normal times, which is good. But nothing too out of the ordinary with that. A lot of players stay up late and play.
But but it doesn't get weirder as time goes on. Like, you know, like
More
people
evil.
are 2 a.m. like sitting at their computer screen. I don't know.
You know, I've actually gotten comments like why I was playing so late or so early. But I haven't found much on like them playing so late or so early. But a lot of people have commented like, "What are you doing up so early?" Well, it's, you know, I don't come out right and say, "Well, my study requires me to observe people at different hours of the day," and but no, it's just like, oh, I got nothing else to do, or in between class and something. You know, I use an excuse to normalize what I'm doing.
Be out there with like a notebook, like writing down what they're saying and stuff.
Yeah.
That's funny. Do you notice any, I mean, do you keep data on trends by like where they're from?
No, I don't. I've loosely observed South American players, and the differences that they're more prone to teamwork, which has been interesting. Beautiful thing is being able to speak Spanish, so I'm never nervous getting thrown in with guys. You know, like just like an hour ago, I was playing and I got popped in with a guy from Colombia and Argentina. Now they weren't friends, but they were Hispanics playing on this North American server. So I asked them, they were accustomed with playing with Americans, but never could speak to them because they didn't speak English.
Right.
But they definitely every Hispanic, Latino that I've played with has always been a team player. They've always been like, let's work together, and that's the way we're going to win. Americans have been more prone to, of course, some Americans are same teamwork too, but like, some of them are like, well, dude, I'm going to do me, and I'm good, so if you can keep up, we'll win, you know. It's a lot less than like, what's our strategy? It's more of that, this is what I'm going to do, but the Hispanics are like, what's our strategy? What are we going to do?
That's super interesting.
Yeah, I've liked it. That's been cool to study because I love Hispanics and I love Latinos. So that's been interesting that it's worked its way into my, you know, online gaming study. Unfortunately, I don't speak Chinese, Korean, or Japanese, so I'm missing that market. But yeah, you know, one guy can only do so much.
Yeah.
That's fun that you like took your hobby and made it into something that you can learn from.
Yeah,
That's, like,
my wife likes it a little bit better.
Yeah. Like,
so it's not
for the
just
study.
Yeah,
it's not just you playing. That's cool. So earlier we were talking about this, and you talked about the streamers' influence on the gaming culture, specifically these games. Like, what do they do, or how do they influence? I guess is a better question.
Streamer is somebody who plays the game and streams it online to make money. It's their job, and if you're good at it, if you're good at streaming, not good at the game per se, but if you're good at streaming, you can make some serious money. Like I won't mention his name, but one of the most popular streamers, he's making over 3 figures, close to 4 or 5 figures, just playing online gaming and streaming. And they've talked about how hard it is. It's not easy. Of course, we see them just playing, but it's much more than that. But
well, how often? So you're saying like 3 or 4 figures, like how often? Like per like week of playing, or like per day of playing?
I think it's a month. Like I think
That's pretty good.
an
Like
online gamer
dollars.
played. He won. Not won. He earned. I think the number was $1.1 million a month.
No.
Yeah, that's the
way
most
more.
popular one.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
And this is how he makes the money. This is how he makes most of the money. People just give it to him for watching.
No.
It's more of like it was surprising to me too. I'm a gamer, but I don't know. I've never donated. I never will. I think it's great that they're doing that, but
Oh my gosh.
with that
Is it
they have
non-profit? I mean, it's all donations.
I'm so
yeah, it's
sad
all-
Like, what's the
that's not
business
me.
model of?
You know,
a
I don't
streamer?
know, and I that'd be an interesting to look at because I mean, it's legal, of course, but how do they pay taxes on that? I'm assuming they do. I mean, it's their business, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's something where it's like technology, and the law and you know that aspect, entrepreneurship hasn't probably connected yet with that so far, but there's a ton of them, and there's only a few that have been really successful. But even the ones that like aren't very good at streaming, like still they make, you know, thousands of dollars. Like that's what they do. Like one of when I got into watching streamers, this culture in itself started when it got really popular. this one that I watched, while I was watching him, when I started watching him, he had quit his job. So he had a job while I started watching him, and then he had quit his job because he was making enough money.
Curse my hand-eye coordination. I could be a bajillionaire.
But that's the thing. So everyone, it's funny, the number one question streamers get is how do they get better at the game, whatever game they're playing. And they'll always say it's just practice. You just got to put in the hours and play. Like, don't play to win, play to get better. Like, go die, kill, just like play to get better. And then they get asked, like, how can I be a good streamer? How can I do what you do, in essence? And most common, it's like, well, you got to be good at the game. If you're not good, you got to have a good personality. If you don't have a good personality or you're not good at the game, don't do it because you're not going to be successful. It is pretty complex. It's not like I've noticed that one guy said, you don't have to be good at the game. You just have to be really funny. I haven't found that to be true. They had to be really good at the game. You have to watch them and go, dang, I want to be that good. It's like, we don't watch professional athletes because they're average. No, we watch them because they're the
funny.
Best at the game, Yeah. And then personality comes into it,
Yeah.
Those great athletes that you watch, like the ones that are more memorable, they were great and they were either funny or crazy. They had their, gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I know that this one streaming channel, they're really popular, and she's really funny because she's bad at the video games. So they'll watch her pretty much die or like mess up or whatever. So I don't know. I don't watch it, but I know that a lot of people do. So I was just wondering if,
That's
that
another
worked.
thing too. Women in gaming. That one's been peculiar because girls don't have to be good at the game. There's millions of guys that'll watch a girl be bad at a game just because she's a woman.
Yikes.
Sex sells. It's awful, but I mean, it's the truth.
So also, I saw that like, I think you said blatant misogyny or like.
Well, in your proposal,
your
you were
proposal.
talking about how like one of the questions was,
Jeez,
why
I
does
use that
online...
big of a word.
I don't know
Why
if it's
does-
blatant. It's something about misogyny.
You said,
but-
why does online gaming lead to abysmal misogyny and a rampant malice of abusive player communications? That's
That
what you
was the
said.
exact quote, yes.
Wow, dang, that was fancy.
You
Maybe
don't
my
remember?
wife wrote that. No, I'm just kidding. I remember that now.
Yeah, how did you find that? Or like, I was just interested in that.
It's just the majority. It's, of course, there's I can pull many examples to where I had great experiences and met some cool people and had great conversations, but the majority of it was just like people being racist, people using just awful language, calling other players, me, awful things just because either I wasn't good at it or I was different than them while we were playing. And that I thought was the most peculiar thing, was just people, not that they have the audacity, but they feel like they should or can do that and still be a good person. I guess people can, say that, oh, I do that, but I'm not a good person. Like sometimes, I think of myself poorly, but this was to an extreme level. I don't go around using words that I've heard players use with such ease.
Yeah.
So do you interact with like females a lot online, or is it mostly just like
It's mostly males,
dudes?
but I have with females in those rare opportunities. I've asked them, I have certain questions that I ask when I ask them the normal ones, but I definitely have a specific set of questions for females. And a lot of it is to ask them how other male players treat them. And it's been really poorly, really poor treatment, very sexual, foul language when they know that the women's on their team were playing. It's been, yeah, and I think it just goes back to what's, they're getting, they do it because they can, and there's no consequence, and besides their own, moral compass, and if they don't have a grasp on their moral compass, no one does. So.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, do you have anything else to add?
No, it's been interesting. Online gaming's changing like constantly, so it'll be interesting to see. You know, I'll have to write reports and come to conclusions and write something solid. Like I have all my data and I've started writing, and I'll publish my paper, but I know it's gonna change. I know it's not gonna stay the same. It'll be interesting to see where it goes, if it gets better or worse. Yeah, I'm gonna make a prediction, but I don't know yet. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, keep us posted, and we'll have you on if you discover anything new. That'd be cool.
Definitely.
So, yeah,
definitely will.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. This was the Xeno Podcast. You can stay updated by following our Facebook and Instagram pages at Xeno Podcast.
This podcast was brought to you by BYU-Hawaii's Reading Writing Center.
You can also find us on YouTube or iTunes or by searching Xeno Podcast. That's Xeno Podcast.
If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at podcastzeno@gmail.com.
Thanks for learning by listening.